Welcome. Hey, my name's Sam, and this is my YouTube channel. Here I'm going to be documenting the entire process as I try and start my own Pokemon card vending business in the midst of what's probably the craziest Pokemon market we've ever seen. Today's date is the 4th of November 2025. I'm going to show you everything I've done up to this point to get ready for my very first show this weekend. But first, let me tell you my story and why I've decided to start my own business. Okay, so my story starts in about 2003 when I first started in primary school. Now, in Australia, when I was a kid, we used to have this program called Toasted TV. And what they would do was they would be on every morning before school and they would show multiple different shows. They would play One Piece and Pokemon and other sort of things, but Pokemon was obviously what drew me in, and that's why I'm here today. Now, I used to watch Pokemon almost every day before school. I would get up early so that I could get dressed, get ready on time, and make sure that I could watch as many episodes as I could before I had to go to school. Fast forward about 18 months to late 2004, Fire Red and Leaf Green had just come out, and that's where my sort of journey with Pokemon really took off, when I got these for Christmas from my nana and from my grandpa, and I spent the entire Christmas day sat under the dinner table at the lunch table playing that instead of hanging out with my family, and that's sort of where my obsession began. Another piece of my story that I just want to add in here before I get to the business stuff, I have a lot of fond memories from about 2005 and 6 in about the second and third grade, when a couple of my friends and I would both play our Game Boys together at school, but also have a big stack of Pokemon cards that we would all play with together. So I had a big stack about the size of my hand that was all held together with a big red thick rubber band. Now, I look back at that time and I think I definitely can't remember any of the cards that I had, but I definitely just hope that I didn't have anything like a base set Zard or any gold stars. I do remember having a really nice Alakazam card, but I cannot remember exactly what it was, whether it was base set or whether it was a gold star. Hopefully not, but I also take comfort in the fact that I used the cards as intended as a kid. It wasn't it wasn't as if I held on to them. So even if those cards are long gone and not somewhere hiding safely in my parents' garage, and if they are destroyed or whatever condition they are in now, they were used for their original purpose. And so even though there may have been some lost potential financial gains there, I used them for what they were meant for. And most recently, have just beaten Pokemon Legends ZA, which I know has a bit of a mixed reception, but I personally really enjoyed it. Now, so that's my story with Pokemon itself. Now, when it comes to wanting to start my own business, my motivation is really that I've always wanted to sort of have a bit more control and financial freedom, and be able to sort of be your own boss. It's the classic adage when it comes to starting your own business. Having that sort of control over my own life and my own financial situation is something that's always really appealed to me, but I've never really known what to pursue that in. And with the sort of rise of Pokemon in the last 18 months, in this new market that we're in at the moment, and the sort of the increase in how many vendors there are, but there are also a lot of great vendors that are really passionate and knowledgeable, but also are good at the business side. So that's definitely the latter of those two is definitely something that I want to emulate and become myself. I mean, there's obviously some really great vendors that have inspired me, that being, some very popular ones. There's Coop's Collection is a big one. Oyama's Trading is another really big one, particularly with his focus on the business side, as well as wanting to use it to fund his own personal collection. I can definitely relate to that as well. And there are some other great people in the space, but that's definitely a large part of what has inspired me to pursue this. Okay, so next I want to take you through the 3 key areas required for the setup of the new business. So firstly, I'll take you through everything I've needed to buy to set the business up to this stage. That includes inventory and equipment. Then I'll take you through business plans. And so that'll be for growth of the business, revenue avenues, that sort of thing. And then lastly, I'll take you through the finances. It'll be a detailed walkthrough of everything I've spent up to this point, as well as future expected costs as well. So firstly, I'm going to talk through equipment and that sort of thing that I've had to purchase. Now, I've broken these down into some different categories. Those are consumables, PPE, software, and table fees. Now, for non-accountants, PPE stands for property, plant and equipment. It's essentially physical assets that the business will use repeatedly. Now, for example, this microphone is a piece of PPE. The camera that I'm filming this on is a piece of PPE. This card case for displays at card shows and similar are PPE. So I'll start with that. So there's those 3 things that I've just mentioned. I've also purchased a cash tin, a branded tablecloth with the logo that I've chosen, a branded banner as well, and a tripod for the camera. Then on to consumables. So I've got some pricing stickers that I'll use, as well as top loaders, a couple of binders, and some card sleeves. Also got some mailing labels and packaging supplies that I will use for the online store that I plan to create, which I'll touch on a bit more later in the video. Then there's a couple of small software charges. I've purchased a site domain, which I will link in the description. Feel free to take a look, as well as some introductory sort of Shopify fees. And then I've got table fees. Now I've got 3 shows booked at this stage. 2 of those are in the next couple of weeks, and another one is in April next year. And then lastly, I will touch on inventory. Now, inventory is a tricky one, particularly at the moment where, there are so many vendors in the space and the market's going crazy. Things are going up and down and left and right, and it's all a little bit crazy. So inventory is definitely a challenge that, as a newbie vendor, I've had to face, and I'm sure that even veteran vendors are facing that issue at times at the moment as well. Now, my inventory I've sourced as a mix of sort of my PC stuff that I can probably let go of emotionally, as well as things that I've purchased specifically for the business. Now, in terms of value of my inventory at this stage, it's about 8,000 Australian dollars for my first show. Probably about 2,500 or 3,000 of that is coming from the personal collection, and the rest of it I've purchased specifically for the business, primarily through bulk buying collections on Facebook Marketplace at this stage in the business. Now, as the business hopefully grows, and my table gets bigger at shows, or the online store that I create gets more traction, sourcing inventory should hopefully become easier, and rather than as a newbie vendor going to other people offering to buy their collection, hopefully it would sort of flip to be the other way around. But at this stage, I've seen success doing it through Facebook Marketplace, being able to get reasonable prices for good stock and good volume of stock. So for the foreseeable future, that will continue to be my sort of number one avenue for inventory. The next thing I'll touch on is my business plans. Now, the biggest one that I'll be pursuing very actively will be vending. Now, the card show scene in Melbourne has grown a lot in the last sort of 6 to 12 months. Card shows are popping up all over the place, and I live reasonably close to the city, so it's pretty easy to get access to a lot of these shows. So as the business starts to grow, I'll be actively pursuing tables at more and more shows across the state and across the city. As well, I am starting to, with this video being my first one, I'm trying to start expanding my social media presence. I'll also be running an Instagram page that is live as of a few weeks ago. So between Instagram and YouTube, I'll be hoping to expand my reach and document this whole process that I'm, running this business with. And then lastly, I have started a online store, regstradingco.com. I'll link it in the description for you to have a look at. But on screen now, you'll see some snippets of the website. So these three avenues, particularly at the early stages of this business, are going to be the real focal point for growing and for expanding our reach. So between meeting people at card shows and using that as the first sort of touch point with customers and other collectors in the community, and then giving them access and links to my socials from there, I think that'll be our key to expanding the business as quickly as possible. Lastly, I will take you through a bit of a walkthrough of the finances so far. So everything that I've spent to the dollar for everything that I've purchased up to this point. Now I'll start with the big one. That's our equipment and our inventory. So just on equipment, before the first show, before up to the stage of this first video, on equipment, I've spent 1,633 Australian dollars. So that's the mic, the camera, the card display case, the branded tablecloth and banner, tripod, everything like that. 1,633 Australian dollars. In terms of consumables, which to be fair, mostly specifically for the card items, the top loaders, the binders, the card sleeves, I already had on hand. Just because I was before I was a vendor, I was a collector first and foremost. So I already had a lot of those on hand, but I've purchased a bunch of mailing supplies, pricing stickers, that sort of thing, for the new venture. And so the total for all that is about 249 Australian dollars. In terms of software that I mentioned before, the Shopify fees so far, and the site domain for to purchase regstradingco.com, that comes to a whopping total of $2.60 for those two things. Table fees for the first show that I've got, which is CardCon Melbourne this weekend. The table for that was about $150 just for the single table. And then in 2 weeks' time, I've also got the Collector's Pit in Melbourne, which was $120. And then in April, I've got presumably a much larger show in the Hobby Hangout XL, and the table charge for that one was $385. And then lastly is the inventory that I mentioned before. Now this one gets a bit cloudy because some of it I already had from 12 months ago. So I've taken a bit of an estimate here. So the market value, as I mentioned before, for the inventory on hand is about 8,000 Australian dollars. But in terms of purchase price for all of that, between sort of the couple $1,000s worth of stuff that I've contributed from my personal collection, as well as the inventory that I've purchased for specifically for the business, I estimate the inventory purchases at a total of about 5,500 Australian dollars as well. So tallying all of that up, the total expenditure to date for the business is 8,039 Australian dollars. Now, some of this is probably wants rather than needs for a new vendor. You probably don't need, a branded tablecloth or a branded banner if you're just starting out and you're limited on the capital that you've got on hand. You can also probably do without the microphone and the probably expensive DJI camera that I've bought. I would recommend getting a camera just for security reasons, if for nothing else. If you don't want to make content or anything like that, that's absolutely fine. But I would recommend getting a camera at least for security purposes if you're going to be vending. In that case, you probably wouldn't have to spend $589 on the camera like I have. You could probably spend, $200 or $300 on a cheaper camera. The rest of it being the display case, other items like inventory and binders and that sort of thing. That's that's part and parcel of being a vendor. You can't really escape those costs. So cutting out some of the, nice to haves, you could probably save about 1,000 or maybe 1,500 Australian dollars on, the spend that I've put out so far. One last thing that I want to touch on for finances is keeping track of everything. Now, I am by profession an accountant, so working with numbers in Excel is, it's where I live. But a lot of my time at card shows and watching vendor POVs before I started this venture was wondering how they keep track of everything. How do they keep track of, the purchase price for their inventory as they take it in the middle of a show? How do they keep track of their sales, their overall inventory value, all those sorts of things? I would wonder constantly about how they keep track of that. Now, in terms of in the middle of and post card shows, I'm yet to work that out because I haven't done one yet. But it's something I'm very conscious of, is keeping track of everything accurately, so I can know if I'm making a profit. At the end of the day, that's what I'm starting this business for. I love the whole Pokémon IP. I love the hobby, and I'm a collector first and foremost. But I'm starting the business to make money, essentially. So I'll be keeping track of everything as best I can, and as I figure out ways to keep track of everything accurately in the middle of a busy show, I will absolutely keep you posted on that, and I'll definitely include that sort of information in future videos as well. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this video. I've touched on everything that I've done to this stage to get the business up and running. Up to this point, I'll be spending the rest of this week getting this video ready, and then getting ready for CardCon this weekend, my very first show. Stay tuned for the next one. In my next video, I'll be doing a mix of vendor POV content from my first show this weekend, and then the accounting aftermath, seeing how much I can keep track of, as well as a bit of an update on profitability from the show, and some general highlights and that sort of thing. So drop a like, subscribe if you want, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks very much.